Okay, I'm back, y'all, and divinely grateful risings. How are y'all doing today? I hope you're having a fantastic and amazing day. Look, there goes my lips again. They feel so like my lips keep feeling like hot, y'all. It's weird. Um, Welcome to Bible ClariTEA. I hope y'all is doing well. We are starting the book of Esther. We are starting the book of Esther today, y'all. Y'all like the live, share the love, drop something in the chat that you're grateful for. Let's get in the flow of abundance. I have read the book of Esther, but guess what? I'm ready to read it again. So this is by the time this comes out, which is so crazy, it will be 10/17/24. And good Lord say the same. I'm doing this Bible clarity, but I'm supposed to be at the J Hud show today, as not the day that you're seeing this, not today, the day I'm recording it. So good Lord say the same. I'll be in LA the day that this comes out, which I did not. I just realized like the synchronicities, but only do it. Let's get to it. Like last year, love. Drop some in the chat. Grateful for. Let's hop into the book of Esther. Y'all know new chapter, so I'm gonna read the excerpt from this. Y'all know, don't be judging my Bible. It's been in the sun, so it's got a tan, right? I am reading from the NIV. I got to tell y'all this as well. This is the One Step Closer Bible. I'm sorry, NLT version. The Lord has given me instruction, and so we still have quite a ways to go in Bible clarity to get all the way through the Bible. But I will tell y'all that the Lord has given me instruction that we're still going to be doing Bible clarity. But the next time that I read through the Bible, it will be with the message version. Okay. It will be with the message version. We got a ways to go. We got a long time to go, but I am blessed. Someone did bless me with a message Bible. So hopefully, so I'm going to be reading it ahead of time. We're going to finish this one out, but then the next time that I go through and do Bible clarity, it will be with the message version. Okay. So Esther, we in the book. Oh, let's do it. Here we go. Here we go, y'all. How did I ever get into this situation? Why? Now what? You have probably asked these questions before, perhaps many times. You may be asking them now as you survey your present situation. How do you decide what to do next? How will you get yourself out of this one? Y'all, I got to make sure I got a good highlighter for this child. And all of them seem like they want to be raggedy. Y'all play too much. We can't play on this one. So let me find me a good highlighter in this establishment. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Esther could certainly have asked these questions. Esther was a Jewish orphan, likely a teenager, who had become queen of Persia through an incredible series of events. But then a high government official tricked the king into signing an edict ordering all the Jews of the kingdom to be killed in one massive ethnic purging. The only person in the world who could influence the king to save the Jewish people was young Esther. But even the queen could not walk into the presence of the king without an invitation. To do so was to invite death. For Esther, it must have been a how and why time. To do nothing meant the death of all her people, possibly even herself. To go to the king could cause her own execution. The story of Esther is in many ways the story of all of us. Suddenly, we find ourselves in the midst of circumstances beyond our control. And then, like Esther, we come face to face with a series of choices. Many of these choices involve moral issues. What is the right thing to do? It might mean the loss of our comfort, our popularity, or even our own way of life. We may hesitate like Esther did, but to retreat behind the safety and comfort of the walls we have built around ourselves is actually the most dangerous thing we can do, because it means we have chosen against God and threatened our very souls. What are you dealing with that is beyond your control? How did you get there? Realize that these are not the key questions. The key question is, now what? What can I do to turn this difficult situation into something that serves God and others? Perhaps God has brought you into this situation for just such a time as this, so that you can turn your adversity, problems, weakness, sorrow, or grief into a special opportunity to do something wonderful for God and others. The King's Banquet. These events happened in the days of King Xerxes, who reigned over 127 provinces stretching from India to Ethiopia. At that time, Xerxes ruled his empire from his royal throne at the fortress of Susa. In the third year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all his nobles and officials. He invited all the military officers of Persia and Media, as well as the princes and nobles of the provinces. The celebration lasted 180 days, a tremendous display of the opulent wealth of his empire and the pomp and splendor of his majesty. When it was all over, the king gave a banquet for all the people, from the greatest to the least, who were in the fortress of Susa. It lasted for 7 days and was held in the courtyard of the palace garden. The courtyard was beautifully decorated with white cotton curtains and blue hangings, which were fastened with white linen cords and purple ribbons to silver rings embedded in marble pillars. Gold and silver couches stood on mosaic pavement of porphyry, marble, mother of pearl, and other costly stones. Drinks were served in gold goblets of many designs, and there was an abundance of royal wine reflecting the king's generosity. By edict of the king, no limits were placed on the drinking, for the king had instructed all his palace officials to serve each man as much as he wanted. At the same time, Queen Vashti gave a banquet for the women in the royal palace of King Xerxes. Queen Vashti deposed. On the seventh day of the feast, when King Xerxes was in high spirits because of the wine, he told the 7 eunuchs who attended him, Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, to bring Queen Vashti to him with the royal crown on her head. He wanted the nobles and all the other men to gaze on her beauty, for she was a very beautiful woman. But when they conveyed the king's orders to Queen Vashti, she refused to come. This made the king furious, and he burned with anger. He immediately consulted with his wise advisors, who knew all the Persian laws and customs, for he always asked their advice. The names of these men were Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Memicon, 7 nobles of Persia and Media. They met with the king regularly and held the highest positions in the empire. What must be done to Queen Vashti, the king demanded. What penalty does the law provide for a queen who refuses to obey the king's orders, properly sent through his eunuchs? Memicon answered the king and his nobles, Queen Vashti has wronged not only the king, but also every noble and citizen throughout your empire. Women everywhere will begin to despise their husbands when they learn that Queen Vashti has refused to appear before the king. Before this day is out, the wives of all the king's nobles throughout Persia and Media will hear what the queen did and will start treating their husbands the same way. There will be no end to their contempt and anger. So if it please the king, we suggest that you issue a written decree, a law of the Persians and Medes that cannot be revoked. It should order that Queen Vashti be forever banished from the presence of King Xerxes, and that the king should choose another queen more worthy than she. When this decree is published throughout the king's vast empire, husbands everywhere, whatever their rank, will receive proper respect from their wives. The king and his nobles thought this made good sense, so he followed Memicon's counsel. He sent letters to all parts of the empire, to each province in its own script and language, proclaiming that every man should be the ruler of his own home and should say whatever he pleases. But after Xerxes, Esther becomes queen. But after Xerxes' anger had subsided, he began thinking about Vashti and what she had done and the decree he had made. So his personal attendant suggested, let us search the empire to find beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint agents in each province to bring these beautiful young women into the royal harem at the fortress of Susa. Haggai, the king's eunuch in charge of the harem, will see that they are all given beauty treatments. After that, the young woman who most pleases the king will be made queen instead of Vashti. This advice was very appealing to the king, so he put the plan into effect. At that time, there was a Jewish man in the fortress of Susa whose name was Mordecai, son of Jair. He was from the tribe of Benjamin and was a descendant of Kish and Shimei. His family had been among those who, with King Joachim of Judah, had been exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. This man had a very beautiful and lovely young cousin named Hadassah, who was also called Esther. When her father and mother died, Mordecai adopted her into his family and raised her as his own daughter. As a result of the king's decree, Esther, along with many other young women, was brought to the king's harem at the fortress of Susa and placed in Haggai's care. Haggai was very impressed with Esther and treated her, come on, page 444, treated her kindly. He quickly ordered a special menu for her and provided her with beauty treatments. He also assigned her 7 maids specially chosen from the king's palace, and he moved her and her maids into the best place in the harem. Esther had not told anyone of her nationality and family background because Mordecai had directed her not to do so. Every day, Mordecai would take a walk near the courtyard of the harem to find out about Esther and what was happening to her. Before each young woman was taken to the king's bed, she was given the prescribed 12 months of beauty treatments, 6 months with oil of myrrh, followed by 6 months with special perfumes and ointments. When it was time for her to go to the king's palace, she was given her choice of whatever clothing or jewelry she wanted to take from the harem. That evening, she was taken to the king's private rooms, and the next morning, she was brought to the second harem where the king's wives lived. There, she would be under the care of Shashgaz, the king's eunuch in charge of the concubines. She would never go to the king again unless he had especially enjoyed her and requested her by name. Esther was the daughter of Abihail, who was Mordecai's uncle. Mordecai had adopted his younger cousin Esther. When it was Esther's turn to go to the king, she accepted the advice of Haggai the eunuch in charge of the harem. She asked for nothing except what he suggested, and she was admired by everyone who saw her. Esther was taken to King Xerxes at the royal palace in early winter of the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther more than any of the other young women. He was so delighted with her that he set the royal crown on her head and declared her queen instead of Vashti. To celebrate the occasion, he gave a great banquet in Esther's honor for all his nobles and officials, declaring a public holiday for the provinces and giving generous gifts to everyone. Even after all the young women had been transferred to the second harem and Mordecai had become a palace official, Esther continued to keep her family background and nationality a secret. She was still following Mordecai's directions just as she did when she lived in his home. Mordecai's loyalty to the king. Child, I might need to read this with the next chapter. One day, as Mordecai was on duty at the king's gate, 2 of the king's eunuchs, Bigthana and Teresh, who were guards at the door of the king's private quarters, became angry at King Xerxes and plotted to assassinate him. But Mordecai heard about the plot and gave the information to Queen Esther. She then told the king about it and gave Mordecai credit for the report. When an investigation was made and Mordecai's story was found to be true, the 2 men were impaled on a sharpened pole. This was all recorded in the book of the history of King Xerxes' reign. Faithfulness. Does it pay to be faithful? Queen Esther's older cousin Mordecai served as a palace official. One day he discovered a plot to assassinate the king. What should he do? Would it be all worth it to get involved? Mordecai did what he thought was right, but perhaps he wondered later, especially when he received no expression of gratitude from the king. As the story would unfold, however, Mordecai's faithfulness to his king later helped to save his own life and the lives of all the Jewish people in the empire. This huge turning point in the history of God's people depended in part on Mordecai's simple, courageous, yet almost unnoticed act of loyalty. Faithfulness is a daily discipline, yet who knows when a moment of loyalty will lead to generations of blessing. You never know. The end. The end. Let's see what we got. Psalm 27:1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Ain't it a blessing to know that we really don't have anything to worry about and that God really does to protect us and take care of us? Even in this situation, even if the king didn't give the gratitude or say anything to Mordecai, right, and let him know, like, hey, good looking out. As this just said, we're going to see further in the story that what he did actually, well, pretty much set up a series of events that saved some people, saved him, saved a lot of people, and really helped them in the long run. So ultimately, do the right thing, right? The Lord encourages us to do the right thing and to continue to just live like that. It's so much easier just to live, to do right. And the next thing is, we ain't got nothing to be afraid of, because the Lord does, he protects, he provides, he sustains, and he makes sure that we are well taken care of. So I'm grateful to have the Lord on my side and that I really don't have anything to worry about. Okay. That's it. Lord, I hope this helps somebody. Y'all, hydrate your soul and things. Drink your water. Say your gratitude. Have a fantastic and an amazing day in purpose and on purpose. And I'll see y'all on the